The twilight of empire. 4 weeks into the U.S.-Iran war, a Pyrrhic victory that broke the West. Chapter 1. A surgical strike or an arterial cut. At 6:45 a.m. in February 2026, the world's clock stopped as Israeli F-35I squadrons streaked across the Tehran skyline. Khamenei's compound was reduced to ash in seconds. The Pentagon called it Operation Decapitation, a flawless script for regime change. In just 28 days, the U.S. launched over 900 airstrikes. By day 5, the Iranian Navy rested at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, their air defense grid was shredded, and their nuclear sites were pierced by bunker busters. In the briefing rooms of the Pentagon, generals cheered for absolute military victory, but they missed one crucial detail. They didn't just kill a political leader, they martyred a religious icon. The 86-year-old Khamenei, who had been battling terminal prostate cancer, had been waiting for this moment of martyrdom. He refused to enter a nuclear-hardened bunker, choosing instead to sit at his desk with his family as the missiles arrived. In the logic of Shia Islam, this wasn't a defeat, it was the spark for a global jihad. Chapter 2. Shredding allies, missing enemies. U.S. missiles accurately leveled targets in Tehran, Isfahan, and Tabriz. But the irony was cruel. These cities housed Iran's most educated, pro-Western, and progressive populations, the very people most likely to support internal change. The U.S. effectively destroyed its most reliable internal allies, while the hardline IRGC radicals had already moved their production lines deep into the Zagros Mountains. Within 48 hours, the Iranian military achieved the most successful decentralization in history. Every province and every guerrilla cell was granted independent authority to strike. The U.S. cut off one head, only to realize the enemy now had 10,000 tentacles. Chapter 3. The Exodus from Dubai and the Petrodollar Collapse. Unable to strike Washington directly, Iran turned its blade toward the ATM of American power, the Gulf states. Dubai, Bahrain, and Qatar, miracles of the desert, were built on one fragile assumption, that the global order would remain eternally stable. Dubai, a city where 90% of the population consists of foreign workers on employment visas. When the first suicide drone hit the helipad of the Burj Al Arab, insurance companies canceled all war risk policies within 3 hours. The Great Exodus. Like a toy losing its batteries, the expat managers and tech experts began a frantic exodus. Without them, these global hubs paralyzed instantly. Why target neutral neighbors? Because neutrality is a diplomatic myth. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait are the pillars of the petrodollar system. They price oil in USD and recycle those dollars into U.S. treasuries. They host the bases and open the airspace. Iran's logic was simple. If my heart stops, I will shatter every scaffold holding your body upright. Chapter 4. The 21-mile hallway of death. On March 2nd, Iran slammed the door on the world's energy lifeline. The Strait of Hormuz is only 21 miles wide at its narrowest. 20% of the world's oil and LNG, along with the food, medicine, and desalination parts the Gulf states depend on, were locked out. Oil prices. Brent crude instantly spiked to $126 per barrel. The insurance trap. Shipping premiums for a single tanker surged to $5 million per trip, a financial death sentence. The famine shadow. The U.S. could protect the shipping lanes, but it couldn't protect the Gulf allies who cannot even feed themselves without constant imports. Chapter 5. The Cheap Reaper. Mopeds versus Patriots. This is the core of the nightmare, an asymmetric war of bankruptcy. Meet the Shad 136 drone. The cost gap. It costs Iran $20,000 to build one. It costs the U.S. $4 million to fire a single Patriot interceptor. The capacity gap. Lockheed Martin produces roughly 600 interceptors per year. Iran can manufacture 500 drones a month in mountainside caves. The tactical edge. Drones launch from the back of civilian flatbed trucks and disappear. The Patriot system is a massive, stationary target visible from space. The U.S. military is like a heavyweight boxer being swarmed by 10,000 wasps with poisonous stingers. Every punch he throws is powerful, but every swing exhausts his stamina and his bank account. Chapter 6. Mustaba's Vow and the Imperial Deadlock. 4 weeks in, Trump attempted a 5-day pause in exchange for reopening the Strait. The world saw it for what it was, a signal of imperial exhaustion. Iran's new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of the deceased, issued his first decree. The Strait remains closed. The revenge has only just begun. The United States now faces a deadlock it hasn't seen in 250 years. It can't leave. If it withdraws, the Petrodollar system collapses, and the Gulf allies will pivot to the east overnight. It can't win. Decapitation failed. To truly occupy Iran would require 1 million troops and $10 trillion, money the U.S. Treasury simply does not have. Chapter 7. Epilogue. When Fear Vanishes. As the prophecy goes, an empire founded by war must maintain itself by war. But when the cost of the war exceeds the spoils of the plunder, the collapse happens overnight. The Iranians used cheap plastic and GPS chips to puncture the bubble of high-tech warfare. When the world stops fearing the aircraft carrier, how does an empire built on fear maintain its dignity?